The wind screamed across the frozen land. Ice tore through the air like knives. Snow covered everything. The sun was gone, hidden behind thick gray clouds. The world was white, cold, and deadly, but something moved in the storm. A shape. Small. Weak, barely standing. It was a mother, an alien dragon-like female, thin, frost-covered, shaking with each step. She held something close to her chest. Two small shapes. Two tiny bodies. Her babies. Their wings were soft and folded. Their scales were blue and white, like the frozen sky. They didn't cry. They didn't move. They were too cold, too silent. She had wrapped them in her own body, using her wings to block the wind. But the storm was too strong. Her legs were numb. Her breath came in short gasps. Her own kind had shut their doors. Her tribe had said the babies were born weak and would not survive. No food for failures, the elders had told her. She begged, she screamed. They turned away. Now, with nowhere left to go, she had only one thought in her heart. The humans. They have heat, fire. Maybe they help. In the distance, she saw it. A human colony, metal walls, tall lights, smoke rising from heaters. She dragged her feet toward it. Her tail left a trail in the snow. Her arms clutched the babies tighter. She didn't care if they shot her. She didn't care if they screamed at her. She just wanted one thing. A little warmth. The wind knocked her down. She hit the ground hard. But she didn't let go of her babies. She got back up. Her claws scraped the ice. Her body shook, her vision blurred, but she kept walking. One slow step, after another. Finally, she reached the human gate. She looked up. A metal camera turned and focused on her. A red light blinked. The gate buzzed. Two humans stepped out. One held a weapon. The other wore a thick brown jacket and had sharp gray eyes. The older one. The leader. The foreman. He looked at her, shocked. Then he looked down at what she held. Two small dragonlings. Blue lips, frozen tails. No movement. He said nothing. She fell to her knees in the snow. She raised her arms slowly, offering her babies. Her voice was broken and weak. Please, she whispered, help them. Then her body gave out. She fell face first into the ice, still holding them, still protecting them. The human foreman ran forward. Medic! Get someone here now! He shouted. He dropped to his knees and carefully pulled the small bodies from her. Arms, they were stiff, too cold but not gone. He pressed his gloved hand to one of the tiny chests. So faint. A heartbeat. Get the heaters, blankets, anything. He yelled. The other human stared. It's a trap. She could be dangerous. She's a mother, the foreman snapped. She brought her babies to us, not bombs. More humans arrived. They wrapped the babies in heat blankets. They carried the mother inside. The storm howled behind them. But inside, there was warmth, and light, and hope. Hours passed. Machines worked hard. The alien mother lay still in a bed, breathing slowly. The babies were placed in special chambers, wrapped in warm gel. Doctor touched one baby's head. It might make it, she said softly. Maybe both. The foreman stood beside them, his arms crossed, his eyes hard but thoughtful. He didn't know why she came, didn't know her name, didn't even know if the babies were truly alive. But he had made a choice. No one freezes to death at our gates, he said. Not while I'm foreman here. Some of the humans still whispered. She's one of them. She could be trouble. She brought monsters. But others said, she begged for help. She didn't come to fight. The snow outside kept falling. But inside, something had started to melt. Not just ice, but hearts. A broken alien mother had brought her frozen children to humans, and instead of being turned away, she found warmth, and maybe something more. The room was quiet. Too quiet. The babies lay in thick gel chambers, still not moving. Their tiny chests rose so slowly that even the machines had trouble picking it up. The alien mother, weak and asleep, lay on a cot in the corner. Her hands were still curled as if she was holding her children. Foreman Jace stood near the table. His hands were shaking, but not from cold, from fear. He had seen many things. Broken engines, explosions, injured men, but never this. 2 dragonlings. Frozen, silent, barely alive, and 1 alien mother, who had given up everything just for a chance. The doctor turned to Jace and shook her head. "They're not responding." "Try again," Jace said firmly. "We have. The heaters are working, the medicine is in, but they were in that storm too long." She paused, then said quietly, "We should prepare for loss." Jace said nothing. He walked closer. The smallest baby dragon lay curled in the gel, its tail wrapped around itself like it had tried to stay warm. Its tiny horns were iced over. Its eyes were closed. It looked peaceful, but far too still. He reached in, touched it. The moment his fingers made contact with the dragonling's side, pain, not the baby's, his own. The cold burned through his gloves. He gasped and pulled back. The doctor turned. "What happened?" "It's like touching dry ice," Jace said. "But worse." He removed his gloves, rolled up his sleeves. "Don't," the doctor warned. "That thing could kill you with body frost." Jace didn't listen. He reached back into the chamber, bare-handed, and wrapped his fingers gently around the dragonling's small body. It was like grabbing a frozen stone. His skin burned instantly, but he didn't let go. He held it close to his, chest-breathed warm air over it, whispered, "Come on, little one. Your mom fought a storm for you. You don't get to give up now." The others in the room watched, wide-eyed. Is he serious? That's suicide. But no one stopped him, because something had changed in the air. It wasn't just science anymore. It was hope. Then, something small. So small, it could have been missed. The baby's tail twitched. Jace didn't move. He kept whispering, "Come on. You're not just ice. You're fire too. Somewhere in there." The tail twitched again. Then a weak, low chirp escaped the baby's throat. The doctor gasped. "Did it?" Jace nodded, still holding it. Then suddenly, a sharp breath. The baby pulled in air. Its chest rose. Then again. It was breathing. Jace smiled. His hands were red with cold burns, but he smiled like it didn't hurt at all. The mother stirred in her cot. She sat up slowly, her eyes wide. Her gaze locked onto her baby in his arms, her lips moved. "My son." Jace turned toward her. "He's not gone." He walked closer and gently laid the baby in her arms. The warmth of her body wrapped around the tiny dragon. She cried, not loud, not wild, just soft tears sliding down her cheeks. The second baby still lay still in the chamber. But now, the heaters beeped. "Heartbeat detected," the doctor said in shock. "Weak, but there." Everyone in the room stood silent. Even the machines seemed to wait. Jace looked down at his hands, red, blistered, but he didn't care, because the cold hadn't won and the babies weren't dead. Outside, the storm still blew, but inside, something new had begun. Not just survival, not just rescue, a bond. The hours crawled by. Inside the quiet med room, only the machines beeped. The mother dragon sat on the floor, her back against the wall. Her arms cradled her smaller baby, wrapped in warm cloth. Her face was still, but her eyes never blinked. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She only watched. The second baby, the older one, was still inside the heat chamber. No movement, no sound. The doctor checked it every hour. Jace checked every 15 minutes, but the screen still said the same thing: heartbeat very weak. No response. The crew began to whisper again. Maybe it's too far gone. One lived. That's a miracle already. But Jace didn't accept that. 2 came to our door, he said. We're not losing either. He stayed in the room all Night, at dawn, the mother finally whispered something, a single word in her language. Jace didn't understand the word, but he understood her voice. It was the sound of a mother saying goodbye. "No," he said. "It's not over yet." He walked to the chamber, opened the top hatch and stared at the baby. So still, so small. He reached in again, this time more gently. He placed his warm hand over the baby's cold body and whispered something soft. "You're not alone anymore." He didn't expect an answer. But then, something strange happened. The baby's chest rose. Once. Then again. A slow breath. Deeper than before. Jace leaned in. The screen beeped. Heartbeat increased. His own breath caught. Then, the tiny creature twitched its claw. A finger moved. The tail uncurled slightly. And finally, one golden eye opened. The mother gasped. She stood quickly, her legs shaking, but she rushed to the chamber. The doctor jumped in surprise. It's awake." The baby's eye blinked once, then again. It let out a sound. A soft, weak cry like wind through a flute. The mother reached in. Jace stepped back as she lifted her baby to her chest. The small dragonling curled into her body and stayed there, alive. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her shoulders shook. But she held both babies now, one in each arm. And for the first time since she arrived, she smiled. Jace sat down slowly. His hands trembled, not from cold, but from something, warm rising in his chest. He had seen a lot in his life, but this moment, this was something else. Outside the room, the station had started waking up. Miners returned to their jobs. Engines roared to life. But inside the small medical room, something more important had happened. Life had won. Later that morning, the alien, mother looked up at Jace. Her voice was quiet but clear. "You gave warmth when others gave walls." Jace shook his head. "I just opened a door." She nodded, then said the words she had been too afraid to say the night before. "You saved my family." The babies slept now, safely wrapped and warm. No more ice on their scales. No more silence. Only breath. The foreman stood at the window and looked out at the white storm. Still blowing. Still deadly. But he didn't feel cold anymore. Because in one quiet room, something incredible had happened. Not just survival. Trust. For 2 days, the alien mother didn't speak much. She stayed in the corner of the medical room, gently rocking her babies. She fed them tiny bits of warm food, stroked their soft scales, and sang quiet songs in a language no one understood. The staff offered her a real bed. She chose the floor. The doctor gave her soft clothes. She wore her old rags. She accepted help, but with eyes full of guilt. Jace noticed. Every time he came in, she lowered her head. Every time someone offered her kindness, she whispered, "Thank you," and looked away. He sat beside her once and asked, "Do you want to stay here?" She didn't answer. He asked again. Still silence then, late one night, when the station was quiet and most people were asleep. She stood. Carefully. Slowly. She wrapped her babies in a thick blanket. She looked around the room. At the lights, the machines, the soft chairs, and then at the human sleeping in the corner chair. Jace, arms crossed, dozing in silence. She whispered, something too soft to hear. Then she walked toward the door. She wasn't stealing. She wasn't running. She was leaving. Because deep inside, she believed something. She didn't belong. She reached the exit. Opened the door. Cold wind slapped her face. Her arms shook. But she tightened the blanket around her babies. She took one step out, then another. The wind howled. Snow hit her skin. Still, She moved. But on her third step, her knees buckled, her legs gave out. She collapsed face first into the snow, arms wrapped tightly around her children. She tried to get up, but her body wouldn't move. She was too weak, too cold, too empty. The door opened behind her. Boots stomped through the snow, then strong arms lifted her up from the ground. You were just gonna walk out with those babies in this weather? It was Jace. His voice wasn't angry, it was tired and worried. She didn't speak. Tears ran down her cheeks. She turned her face away, ashamed. I thought maybe you didn't want us anymore, she whispered. I can't pay. I can't fix machines, I have no use. Jace stared at her. Then he looked down at the babies, now huddled in her arms again. They were sleeping peacefully, warm in their blanket. He said quietly, You think help is only given to the useful? She nodded. He sighed, and then he said the words she never expected to hear. You are not a job. You are a mother. That's enough. She cried then, not just soft tears, but deep ones. She had fought storms, hunger and fear, but she had never known these words before. Jace carried her back inside. He laid her down in the real bed this time, wrapped her in a soft blanket. He pulled the heat lamps closer, then turned to go back to his chair. But her hand caught his sleeve. He looked back. Her voice was small. Why are you kind to me? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, Because once, someone saved my mother too. She didn't ask more. She just closed her eyes, holding her babies close. And for the first time since she arrived, she believed she was allowed to stay. That night, snow kept falling outside, but inside the small human room, one alien mother, once broken and cold, finally felt warm. The snowstorm had calmed outside, but inside the station, a new storm was beginning. It started with the alarm. A flashing red light blinked across the ceiling. Then the radio buzzed. Unidentified life forms approaching the south gate. Jace grabbed his coat and ran to the control room. The camera screen showed 3 figures walking through the snow. They were not human. Their wings were black. Their eyes glowed gold, and they were tall, taller than the alien mother. Each wore dark armor and carried sharp spears. Jace narrowed his eyes. Her kind. By the time he reached the gate, they were already waiting. One stepped forward. His voice was cold. We sensed the breath of dragon blood, he said. Open the doors. Jace didn't move. State your reason. The tallest alien stepped forward. His teeth were sharp. There is a female here. She ran from judgment. She stole hatchlings born unworthy. We've come to take them. Jace's jaw tightened. She didn't steal anything. She's their mother. The alien chuckled. She is weak. Her children are weak. She defied her caste and brought shame to her bloodline. We only came to correct the mistake. Before Jace could speak, a voice cried from behind him. No, the mother had heard everything. She rushed down the hall barefoot, clutching her 2 babies to her chest. She stood beside Jace, breathing hard, her eyes full of fire. No one takes them, she shouted. The other aliens frowned. You speak against your own kind? You protect broken ones? She tightened her arms around her babies. They are not broken. Her voice cracked. They are alive. They are mine. The tallest alien raised his spear. Then you choose exile. You reject your blood. I choose them, she whispered, and I choose him. She stepped in front of Jace. There was a pause, long one. The wind blew against the gate. Everyone was silent. Then the alien leader turned his cold eyes toward Jace. You protect her now? Jace nodded slowly. I do, the alien hissed. Then remember this. The weak always fall. With that, they turned and vanished into the snow. The gate closed with a heavy thud. The mother was shaking, but not from fear, from relief. She turned, to Jace breathing fast. I was ready to run, she whispered, but they would have taken them. Jace looked down at the babies, now wide-eyed but quiet. You didn't run this time, he said. You stood. She nodded slowly. I stood because I knew you'd be behind me. That night, Jace gave her a new room, with a door that locked, with lights she could control, with a nameplate. It read, Naria plus hatchlings. For the first time, she had a room that was hers. No cage, no chains, no fear. And in the hall outside, the human who had once been just a foreman now stood guard like family. Weeks passed. The snowstorms came and went, but inside the human station something soft and strange was happening. The baby dragons were growing. They had names now. Naria, the mother, had finally spoken them aloud one evening by the fire. The smaller one, the quiet one, was Luma. The louder one, who liked to bite Jace's boots, was Rick. They learned quickly. They walked, then ran. They chirped and squeaked and made messes. They knocked over boxes and curled into warm corners, but more than anything, they followed Jace, not their mother, not the doctor, just Jace. If he went to the kitchen, two little tails trailed behind. If he sat at his desk, they climbed into his lap. If he worked on machines, they sat beside him, watching every movement. One day, when he sneezed loudly, Rick fell backward in surprise and started growling at his nose. Everyone laughed, even Naria. It was the first time Jace saw her truly laugh. She sat with him that night as the baby slept on the floor near the heater. They follow you, she said. They love you. Jace looked down at his shirt. It had tiny claw holes, a jelly stain, some bite marks on his boots too. He sighed. They also destroy everything I own. But he smiled, because secretly, he didn't mind. Naria looked at him for a long time. Her voice was softer this time. They see something in you, something warm. Jace looked away, a little shy. He had never been a father, never wanted to be. But now, two strange little dragonlings followed his every move like he was the center of their universe. And somehow, he didn't want to disappoint them. One evening, Rick got sick. He shivered, stopped eating, curled up in a corner. Naria panicked. She wrapped him in blankets and called for Jace. The doctor came too. Everyone watched as Rick's tiny chest rose and fell too fast. Then Jace sat beside him, placed a warm hand on the little body, and whispered something. You've come this far. Don't give up now, Fireball. Within an hour, Rick was breathing steady. Naria stared at Jace with wide eyes. He responded to your voice. Jace shrugged, trying to hide how deeply that touched him. Maybe I'm just loud. She smiled and placed her hand over his. No. Maybe your family. That word hung in the air. Family. Strange how it had happened. He never asked for it, never expected it. But now it was here, in every chirp, every claw mark, every warm look from Naria. One morning, Rick and Luma climbed into Jace's bed before dawn. They curled beside him like puppies. He didn't wake them. He just pulled the blanket higher and smiled. Later that day, Naria watched them from the doorway. Her voice was soft. I once thought no one would love creatures like them. She looked at Jace. I was wrong. And Jace, who had come to this cold planet just to do his job, now found himself surrounded by warmth, by little fire breathers, by a brave, broken mother, who now stood taller than ever before. Not because someone rescued her, but because someone believed in her, and now they believed in him too. The snow had stopped. Spring was coming. But something colder than winter returned that day. An attack. The alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed across the walls. Jace ran to the gate with 5 others. What's going on? He asked. One guard pointed at the camera feed. Dark figures moved across the snow, fast and sharp. Not beasts, not wild animals. War scouts, alien soldiers from Naria's old tribe. They were back, but this time, not to talk. This time, they brought weapons and fire. They said she broke laws, one human said. They're here to punish. Jace's hands tightened into fists. She didn't break anything. She saved her kids. The loudspeaker crackled. A cold, deep voice spoke from outside. Turn over the traitor and her spawn, or we come through your walls. Inside the station, Naria held her children close. Rick and Luma, now bigger, stronger, smarter, stood on each side of her. They were no longer helpless. Their wings had grown. Their fire was real. Naria looked at Jace as he walked in. "I will go," she said quietly. "They won't hurt your people if I leave." Jace stepped forward and shook his head. "You're not going anywhere." But before he could say more, a low growl echoed through the room. It wasn't Jace. It wasn't Naria. It was Rick. Then Luma. The dragonlings stepped in front of their mother, wings wide, eyes glowing. Their tiny bodies stood like walls between her and danger. "No," Naria whispered. "They're just children." Jace put a hand on her shoulder. "Not anymore." Outside, the enemy approached. Their voices shouted orders. But before the gates opened, a high-pitched screech cut through the air. The dragonlings launched, faster than anyone expected. They flew into the cold, small but fierce, wings sharp, claws ready, fire burning from their mouths. The soldiers laughed, until Luma scorched the snow in front of them, until Rick tackled one to the ground with surprising strength. The fight was quick. The attackers didn't expect resistance, and they definitely didn't expect a pair of tiny dragons guarding humans like soldiers. When the last of the enemies ran back into the White Hills, the gate shut. Silence returned, except for soft breathing and quiet cheers. Jace stepped outside. Rick landed on his shoulder, panting, eyes bright. Luma curled at his feet. He looked down at them. "Guard dogs, huh?" He smiled. Naria walked out, her eyes full. They would burn the world. For you. Later that night, the station held a small gathering. For the first time, Naria and her children were guests, not outsiders. Warm food, blankets, laughter, and in the center of it all, a human foreman, a dragon mother, and two little fire-breathing heroes fast asleep beside his boots. Jace picked up Rick, cradled him like a child. "Never thought I'd say this," he whispered, "but I think you were the best thing I ever bought with 0 credits." Naria laughed softly. She touched his hand. "You didn't just give us warmth," she said. "You gave us a home." Jace looked at her. "No," he said. "You gave me a family." The station survived that night. But more importantly, love had, too. They came begging for help. Cold, broken, hopeless. But now they stood tall. Now they burned bright. Now they guarded the humans. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Because this was their family too.